Alrighty guys, Kolleroscopy. Let's talk about Koller, okay? Now this is a different video. I'm not showing you all the sunshine and daisies about Koller, how effective he is. I'm showing you the side that you don't see that often. We're gonna talk about Koller fail. And listen, I'm gonna leave you with the highlights of Koller failing against GP defenders, free defenders, epic defenders. It does happen. So I feel like we need to show this side of the game as well. It's not always OP, meta, game changer, broken in a sense. You know what I mean? So I feel like we need to show that side a little bit more often. Now don't get me wrong. A month ago, I started playing the crossing game because I got bored. We had an extreme triple overlapping GP players with pinpoint crossing. And I signed these cards, which are GP players, as long as they're 2 meters tall. And we got some clips, some highlights as well on TikTok about the crossing game in a sense. And it was hilarious how effective it was. All you gotta do is a 2 meter tall striker, get the cross to him, and it's a goal most of the time. And I used manual shooting to make these GP players more effective because obviously they don't have bullet heading. So the point I'm trying to make here, Koller is effective, but it isn't. I feel like some of you guys put in Koller on a pedestal in a sense. I score more goals. People expect me to be a cross spammer. A lot of time I score more goals with Koller's feet. Because every time I get the ball, they're going to mark Beckham or Figo. Boom, Koller's empty, through ball, done. So I like that part of the game in a sense. If I don't mix things up, one day I'm a cross spammer, next day I'm a meta guy, third day I'm playing something footballish. So in a way, Koller can be stopped. You man mark you time mark the crossers in a sense, you got better chance of stopping the crosses than the ball reaching out to Koller in a sense. For me, it's more successful to man mark or time mark, I would say, because if you man mark, people switch sub tactics in a way. Now I've got Koller, I've got extreme Koller. This is like for crossing game only. I feel like 95 jump is an absolute must. And also, all my defenders have 95 jump. All of them. Chiellini, Thuram, apart from him, I can't make him 95 jump. So what I'm trying to say is, you will see Koller failing against GP players, against paid players, against free cards. It does happen because the way in this game work, guys, they nerf and buff certain skills and player stats. And when certain skills and player stats gets nerfed, it will affect the player and it will affect how you play. For example, they nerfed long range curl to sell as blitz curl. They nerfed pinpoint crossing to sell as edge crossing. They nerfed general heading to sell as bullet heading. And at the same time, they nerfed these skills too, in a way. Because the game is not pay to win. There are too many factors to call it pay to win. I always say, there are people with full epic paid team, they can't even get to Div 1. And there are people with a free team, they can get to Div 1 easily. The point I'm trying to make here, never disrespect user's skill. I use the free team. I beat epic teams all the time with it. At the moment, I only use epics. I don't even use highlights. Because I feel like certain people will give you so much hate for having an epic team. So I have to embrace that. For me, it's about the nostalgia and retro. Have an epic team for that reason. I like to collect these legends. There are several players that you can stop Koller with. Dan Burn, for example. Even if you don't spend. If you spend, it's an obvious card. But you can get Dan Burn. You can get this guy from Indonesia as well, who's 2 meters tall. Free Tony Adams is a nightmare when I'm trying to play against. Any versions of Van Dijk. Any versions of Van Dijk, it's a problematic as well. But at the same time, they nerfed the crossing game, but they didn't nerf the meta. Like, I don't understand. If you want to play football on eFootball, well, crossing game is more for football. Modern football is all about spreading wide and crossing the ball into the box, whether it's ground or high. So, in terms of trying to play football, crossing game is more of a football in a sense. So I don't get if you complain about crossing game, but you're okay with the meta one touch first time shot. It makes no sense to me in a way. I don't think we should, be insulting people who want to play a crossing game. Because at the end of the day, you will be a spammer anyway. Whether you're a meta spammer, crossing rat, 5 at the back rat, you will always be labeled something unless you lose the game. Personally, I play everything. Crossing game, meta, football, possession. I play everything. Otherwise, I get bored. Now, as you can see in these clips, Koller failing consistently. If I make 5 crosses, at least 3 or 2 of them, he doesn't do bullet heading because it's contextual. With edge crossing, or sorry, which with blitz curler, I'm in control. I have a button function for it. But with bullet headers, a lot of times the players don't do it when you try to spam crosses non-stop. And the best effective method of crossing, you don't necessarily need edge crossing Beckham or Figo or fullbacks. Just get to the box, at the edge of the box, L1 triangle, boom. Or a 1-2 pass head on, L1 triangle, return the pass, boom, bullet head in it. Because for me, if I want to play extreme crossing game, I don't necessarily need Beckham and Figo. I can just use Messi and Neymar because I can dribble with them better, I can finish with them better. All I gotta do is just do an L1 triangle cross at the edge of the box. But I like enjoying using Beckham, one of my favorite players in real life. And it's difficult to replicate real life into football. Beckham, Figo, I think Figo is the best cross specialist with edge crossing, in my opinion. And then you go fullback like Philip Lam, Lizarazu, Roberto Carlos, the old card of Gareth Bale. But even GP players with pinpoint crossing has been absolutely okay when I use them and play against them. So you can see these fails with Koller. Now, of course, I do score a lot of goals too. Comment down below what you think of him, whether you played against him, whether you use him. For me, he's never plan A. Even if I try to play a week of enjoying some crossing game rather than the usual meta in a sense. Because I think Konami never nerfs the meta of the game, which is forcing down the middle, one-touch pass, first-time shot. That is way too effective in a sense. They don't nerf that, but they nerf the crossing game. So it makes the meta a little bit too boring. I'm not saying if you're a meta player, you're boring. What you do as a user is none of my business. But the meta of the game being the same for years is boring. So I enjoyed the playing a little bit of a crossing game, making actually David Beckham a little effective. Personally, I enjoy it. But regardless of all of this, yes, Koller is not going to be a Kolleroscopy. He has his bad sides as well. You have games when Koller has no impact whatsoever. And if you're struggling against Koller, play 5 at the back, tight mark both crossers. Always be prepared that somebody will have Koller. Get a bunch of GP players. Dan Burn. Well, Dan Burn is around with the Destroyer. I prefer the old car who was a defensive fullback. But there are a bunch of GP tall, 2-meter tall center backs as well. Or Tony Adams will do the job too. So comment down below, share your experience, and let me know. Till next time. Ciao for now.